What do cricketers do in the off-season?
Well, most of the guys, they generally play overseas, abroad. You get the guys playing, having county stints, IPL as well. You know, you got a large number of our guys involved in the IPL. But myself specifically, I'm not involved in any of those two. So I've just been relaxing, being at home. You know, I'm staying away from cricket as much as I can. I've also tried to make time to go back to Cape Town just to visit the family and the extended family. But yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is just being away from cricket.
Let's go back to Cape Town with you and go back a few years and ask you about when you realized that cricket for you could be more than just fun. In other words, that you could do something with it and make it part of your life.
I think later on in my formative years, about 17, 18, I realized, cricket could be something more than just a passion, more than just fun. Growing up, that's what cricket was about. It was just fun. It was just a platform for me to express myself, and through my schooling years as well, it was just that for me. And then I think I was in matric. I made the Gauteng under-19 team.
Yes.
That got selected to go to the Coca-Cola week, which is the national under-19 week. I think it's called the Kaya Majola week. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there I got selected for the representative side over there. I think SA Colts or SA Schools. And from then onwards, understanding, the whole meaning or significance of making that team, I saw cricket as more than just a game, really.
Cricket was in your family. Tell us who made a difference. Uncles, parents, who were the people that guided you into this very difficult game?
Yeah, my uncles from my mother's side, they were heavily involved in cricket. Actually, various different sports, but cricket was one of them. So from an early age, I used to go, to the stadium. The stadium wasn't too far where we lived, and I watch my uncles play there, and I think that's where the seed was kind of planted. Also in the community that I grew up with, Langa in Cape Town, there's a keen interest in sport, cricket being one of them. And playing street cricket, playing street soccer,
Mm-hmm.
that's where the passion was fueled. And I think I attribute my passion to the game, to number one, my family and the community that I was born into.
Did your family say to you, play and have fun, or did your family say to you, play, practice hard, because one day you could be a seriously good player? How did they draw you in?
I think it was different from both of my parents. They had different perspectives. I think my mother she took to my passion, towards cricket. I mean, she obviously saw it from her brothers, being my uncle, that they were involved in sport. So she kind of understood my craze, towards cricket. Whereas my dad, for him, cricket was almost just, something you do in your spare time. But what's important is that you go to school, you pass matric, you go to university, you get a degree, and, get into the business world. So it was a different perspective from both parents. But I think as things started developing and I got to higher levels, they started understanding why I was so crazy about the sport.
So I want to read to you, and I'm sure this has been quoted to you before. This is Temba Bavuma in grade 6S at SACS, I think. And
English.
All the children in the class had to write where I see myself in 15 years. This is you. I see myself in 15 years standing in my suit and shaking Mr. Mbeki's hand, congratulating me for making the South African side. If I do, I would definitely thank my coaches and parents who support me all the way, and especially my two uncles who gave me the skills of being one. I would also want to be an accountant because I'm very good at maths, like my father, who encouraged me to be one, and also who gets a lot of money too. So obviously, Thabo Mbeki is no longer president of South Africa and couldn't have been, but leave that aside as a detail. But as a young man, you had a very clear idea of what it is you wanted to do.
Yeah, it's actually quite embarrassing.
Why?
Hearing that piece that I wrote. I mean, there's quite a lot of cockiness and arrogance that come about there. But I think the belief was always there. That I could be something. With cricket. Like I mentioned there with my uncles. They were always there. They're still there now. Trying to support me wherever they can in the sport. And I think I also mentioned about my father, with the whole accounting and him pushing, the education side of things. But I think from a young age, I always had that inner self-belief.
How did that work at home? Because there's only so many hours in the day, and you've got your dad on the one hand saying, hey, keep an eye on school. I want to see those maths marks up where they should be. And then you've got other people saying, hey, we've got a game on Saturday. Let's practice. Let's put some time in with bat and ball. Was that ever a tension, or did you always, in your own mind, have an idea of which activity belonged where?
I think in my mind, cricket, was always the number one. I always prioritized cricket over education. But I knew, at the end of the semester, I had to put down a report, that showed good numbers. So I had to try find the balance, between the two. I remember instances where my dad on the weekend would force me, to work on my maths. I'd sit there on the Sunday from the morning till the evening just doing math sums, practicing. And then Saturday was dedicated to cricket. When I used to come back from a cricket match, he'd make me write an essay.
Straight as soon as you got home?
As soon as I got home.
No, put your feet up and watch football on TV?
Nah, nothing like that. Football, I used to hear the highlights from my friends. So, I had to try find the balance. And I think later on, I remember in my matric year, because that's when cricket got a bit serious, there was a lot of tension. There were instances where I chose to prioritize cricket, missing school days because we had to go play a game for the first class team. And that obviously didn't sit well with my dad. But with my mother supporting me, it kind of, luckily because I had my mother on my side, I was able to get away with a bit more than I think anyone would get away with.
Well, that's interesting to have your mom backing you on that. I want to talk about those games of street cricket, because you said to me just before we started the interview, we were just chatting, and you said there's not as much cricket in the street as there used to be when you were growing up. Is that because kids are playing less sport in the streets generally, or is it a sign of progress that there are places where they can play perhaps more formally in a decent facility? What's going on?
I think, you could say it's a sign of process. I remember, me being a young guy growing up there, we used to play various sports where in the morning you'd be playing cricket, and then when it got dark we used to play soccer. But what was also quite evident is that the older guys were also involved. So now I think in these times, us being the older guys, we're not as involved. So you almost have a situation where the younger guys, they don't have, that passion being instilled or being thrown back at them. And I think also social economic issues. The kids unfortunately are more invested in other not so positive things in the community. And things are definitely not the same as it was when I was young. I enjoyed playing street cricket or street soccer. It was very, very competitive. I mean, as a 13 or 14-year-old, you're playing against guys that are 19. You know what I mean? And a guy that's older than you, he doesn't want to be outskilled by a younger guy. So if you're playing soccer, it's not a natural thing for an older guy to kick you because you outskilled him or something. So it was very competitive, and it kind of prepared you, for other challenges, ahead. But it's not as street cricket or street sport really is not as prevalent
as it was, and not as rich. Now, let's picture the young Temba Bavuma in Rubusana Avenue, around where you lived, and you playing cricket.
Yeah.
And here's one of your old friends, Andile Krain. He's quoted as saying, "He was a good batsman. He used to stay there for hours. Some of us would go and eat and come back, and he was still batting. We had to swear at him to get his mind off or just bully him. He would not get out, so we just took the bat from him." I see a picture of maybe you were the youngest, certainly perhaps one of the smaller children in the game, and I see a picture of a very determined, stubborn young man. Is that who you were, or were you just skilled?
I think I was definitely one of the smallest, if not the smallest. Like I said, we were playing against older guys, so that kind of made it a bit more competitive. And being one of the smaller guys, physically, less than the other guys, I had to draw a bit more from my mental side, and that's where the things of determination, to prove to the guys that you can play with them, just because they are a head taller than you, it means nothing. I definitely am stubborn, so that hasn't nothing there has changed. But yeah, I remember Andile is a good friend of mine, and I still see him now, and we're still reminiscing, of all those memories when we used to do battle out there in the streets.
Yeah, I mean that's the unique thing about cricket. If you're batting, somebody else can't bat. I mean, there might be someone at the other end, but only two people can bat. So I would imagine that some people got a little impatient with you and your tight hold on the bat when they were waiting to bat. He said they used to try and put you off and sledge you a little bit. Can you remember what people said? Was there anything that stuck in your mind?
To be honest, I don't remember what they said, but they were very, very aggressive towards me.
Yes.
I mean, well, aggressive towards anyone that was that became a thorn.
Yeah.
Towards them. But yeah, it was just natural competitiveness, amongst sportsmen, and just trying to get one over the other.
Do you think, though, even though it was amongst friends and it was close to home, do you think that has served you in good stead, that you grew up in an atmosphere where cricket, not a polite game at all, was played with lots of mental pressure, even if it was just in your own neighborhood, in your own backyard? Do you think that's helped you when you're in front of 20,000 people at Newlands?
I think, yeah, to a large extent it has assisted me in my game. Coming from street cricket where it's quite aggressive, it's quite competitive, and then going into school cricket where you play against other races, other cultures, and there, I experienced a lot of like sledging and things like that. So when it happens in school cricket, I had ways to deal with it because it is something that I was accustomed to it, back home. And even now, it's something that I know is part of my game. I know guys are gonna be coming at me, saying whatever from a sledging point of view. So I think I have mental ways to deal with it all.
When you talk about going to play, young man, grew up in the township, although you were at a school in I suppose what was white suburban Cape Town at Sachs. Was any of the sledging and that you experienced in schools cricket, was any of it personal? Was any of it directed at you in a particular way because you were black?
Yeah, there were instances where the sledging did cross the line, from a racial point of view. But I mean, I was quite young. I think I might have also, reacted negatively towards those kind of comments. But there were definitely issues.